This is Dave and Will's Guitar. Thanks for joining us again. I'm here with Dave, as you know, and I'm Will. And today we're joined by Mike Horn. He's a bassist around Virginia. He's done a lot of cool things. He's recently been featured on ABC's, what is it, Friday night, or Friday
The Great Christmas Light Fight.
The Great Christmas Light Fight. So if you recognize this face, you probably saw him in that show. I don't know. If you're a huge ABC fan, you probably definitely saw him. But today we're doing something we don't normally do. We're demoing some basses. Dave is a guitarist. I play guitar. I'm not proficient at bass whatsoever, but we got one for you, and hopefully, you'll see a demo. So he's got his own guitar. We're going to let him do a little bit of work on that a little bit later, and then we're also going to talk about this Hils guitar. This is a Hils bass. It's one of their headless basses. So we'll go through those and get his opinions on those guitars. But first, I think we should start at the beginning. So. Mike, can you give us maybe a rundown of your musical experience, where you started, things like that, like your influences?
Sure.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I started playing bass when I was, I think, 14. I actually started playing bass because everyone else played guitar. In middle school, I was friends with a bunch of buddies, and they all played guitar, and I was like, well, I can't just play guitar. Someone's got to play bass. So I was like, I'll pick this thing up. I begged my mom to get me a bass from Music and Arts Center, and I ended up getting a Yamaha BBN4. I still wish I had that bass. I think I sold it to Venom's Music in 1999. I wish I still had it, but no, I started playing when I was 14. Grew up a huge Metallica fan, Red Hot Chili Peppers fan, Primus fan, Stone Temple Pilots, Soundgarden. So those were probably my 5 biggest influences to start. Every one of the bass players in those bands had something pretty unique about, kind of what they brought to the table, what they brought to the band. And I'd like to think that I've picked up something from each of those guys just in my playing. So yeah, I mean, those are my my big influences from back in the day. Obviously, they've grown and branched out, but that's kind of where I started. Like I said, started playing when I was 14. I've been playing ever since, and been playing in local bands for a long time. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
That's awesome. Well, okay, and I have another question. So Dan,
Sure.
you've described all these influences, and of course we could hear a bunch of famous bands like Led Zeppelin, all the other famous bass players, Flea, etc. Give us an example of a perfect bass line that doesn't get talked about enough. Your influence,
man.
Things you grew up with, a line that or
Yeah.
underappreciated.
So In the Meantime by Space Hog. So the.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I butchered that one part, but no, that's so that I don't even know the bass player's name. The bass player is actually the singer for that band. He plays that on a Rickenbacker. I've loved that bass part since the first time I heard it on the radio. It's fun, it moves, and there's a little bit of distortion on it. You can kind of hear. I've loved that song forever, and that's one of those underrated bass parts that no one talks about enough, but. Everybody knows that riff. Yeah, see, you got it, right? But yeah, and there's tons of little there's riffs like that you can think of. But yeah, that's one of the ones. That's always the one that sticks out first to me.
That's awesome. Yeah. So moving on, if we talk about other stuff here, let's see. Tones that you chased early on in your career that you since abandoned, or you thought initially I have to have that sound, or did you ever get there, or you let some go?
So let's see. So the earliest tone chasing. So I mentioned some of my influences. Obviously, Cliff Burton from Metallica. That tone. I never knew as a kid how modded all his Rickenbacker basses were. He had added a giant EBO toaster pickup to the bass. He had a jazz pickup in his bridge, and he had all this wild kind of distortion sound. I could never get there when I was a kid. And it's a very thin bass sound. It's not very orthodox. It's kind of like a Motorhead kind of it kind of cuts through everything and sounds like a third guitar, if you will. I could never get there completely. He also used that Morley Telray Powerwah fuzz, which I've owned a bunch of, and you can get pretty close, but it just never worked in a band setting, at least for what I was playing. As far as other tones, obviously my biggest influence was Flea, so Music Man Stingray into a GK800, into I used to use Gens-Benz cabs because I could never find Mesa cabs when I was a kid, but that tone I think I had pretty much close as a kid, and that was my main sound for most of high school, was just basically Stingrays into a GK800RB. And it's still a classic sound. People use that all the time. I've owned a million Stingrays. I have a love affair with them where I buy them, I play them for 6 months, and then I'm like, I gotta move on from this, and I sell it, and then a month later I'm like, I need a Stingray back. I'll probably buy one in January, but they're incredible basses. They feel great. The sound is so incredible. They work perfect in a band setting for rock, for funk, for anything. But those are probably the two tones I chased the most. For Les Claypool, it was always really hard to figure out kind of what he was doing before we had YouTube and all that kind of stuff. You know, you heard he had like a real like honky mid-range kind of sound, and he had the goofy Carl Thompson basses that were, you know, you couldn't get those anywhere. You never knew what kind of pickups were in them. So never really chased that tone. Much more comfortable with that nowadays. But you know, back in the day, it was always those two. It was Cliff and Flea, that real like distorted kind of guitar solo-y bass sound that he had, and then Flea's, you know, Music Man Stingray kind of sound.
Absolutely.
Those were my two big ones.
So now that you've probably developed your own tone since then, right? You've come on, and you guys, I don't know how long you guys have been, you guys gig together.
Oh yeah, we played a bunch.
So you played a bunch together. Have you noticed that influence, like either future music or gigging out? Like what has that changed as far as your sound from what you heard and what you tried to develop early, like moving on? Has that changed any?
Yeah, so obviously when you're playing in your bedroom as a kid and you have a specific sound in mind, you know, I can't show up to play with David and do, you know, 90s and 2000s rock covers with the Rickenbacker with a bunch of fuzz pedals on. Like that's probably not going to work too well. Although maybe it would. I don't know. Maybe we'll try that the next one.
Yeah, sure.
But there's a certain time and place for all those kind of tones. And the older you get or the more experience you get, the more you realize, hey, that's a specific tone for a specific band, for a specific style of music, versus when I show up to do a cover band gig, I'm going to show up with a P or a J, and it's going to be a much more in the pocket, in the mix kind of sound that works with everyone, that's not taking away from anyone else's sound, that just fits with the whole band. And you kind of develop that over time. And look, we've all showed up to gigs early in our careers with stuff that didn't work, and we're like, that sounded really cool at home, and that didn't work too well on stage. And you learn pretty fast. I mean, if you know what you're doing, you learn pretty fast, and you're like, hey, I think I need a P bass with a pick for that kind of sound. It's gotta sit underneath the guitar, and then it's gotta mix with the drums, and you know, there's a lot of trial and error with that stuff too. But
how often do you find yourself going to a picks? You know, some basses are like fingers only. Man.
No, I play whatever the song calls for, right? If I'm playing Green Day songs, I'm not using my fingers, right? I can play that stuff with my fingers, but picks have a certain sound. They sound great, especially for like heavy metal kind of stuff. You can't get pick attack with the flesh on your fingers. I mean, you can get close, but it's just, you know, and it's also fun to lower your bass and just rock out with your hand. You know what I mean? It's just, it's a feel kind of thing. So, you know, I know there's bass players that do that bit where it's like, I'm never going to use it. It's just, I mean, I've seen, who's the bass player that he had I think it's Tony Levin. He had a couple of songs that he played his bass with drumsticks attached to his fingers to get this real kind of like percussive, kind of cool attack. You know, you've heard of Jimmy Page using a bow on his guitar. I mean, whatever works, whatever fits the sound, right? If you tape spoons to my hands, and if it works, I'll use spoons, right? It's just whatever works, and everything's different, right? You can get all different kind of sounds with picks, fingers, anything percussive. I mean, I'll play with anything. So yeah.
So here's another question that I thought because both of you play together pretty often. You don't name the venue because you probably won't play there again. Worst gigs. Now don't just initially talk about it, but worst gigs you've played together. Let's see if you have the same answer. Right? If you like, need a minute to like lock it in. Do you know immediately, or you're just like?
Man, I don't know. I mean, honestly, I've played some ridiculously bad gigs, but I don't know if we've ever had a really bad gig. I think the only thing that's bad sometimes. Some of the gigs that we've done, they're kind of those gigs where you're just kind of background noise, and no one's paying attention. And those are always, you know, look, you show up, you're going to do your gig, you're going to get paid, you're going to go home. But, you know, the fun kind of gets removed. But I'll be honest, like playing with Dave is awesome because he will make it fun if it's not. I know the best gig we've ever played. Now you could ask that
let's
question.
do that. Maybe we'll jump to the
Now,
best gig. Yeah.
the best gig we've ever played, I have one specific. I don't know if you remember it, but
Do you have one locked in? Dave?
oh, I have it locked
Is
in
this
for sure.
your only gigs that we played together
you
though, or
only
just
played together, like-
Just with me and just
okay,
us.
okay, yeah.
Because I don't play with him that often, so it's few and far between.
Yeah.
I'm only a special guest sometimes.
Special guest,
He
okay.
passes me over for lots better players.
No, I don't have that many band gigs where
I know, I know.
It's like more than 75% solo, and then duo. If I have duo, normally I have a percussionist of some sort. Yeah. So.
But the one, so if he doesn't remember it, the one that we did, I don't even say the place. It was great because I played there a million times. We played Craft House in Reston, and the crowd was not big. There were maybe 20, 30 people there. But the whole night, what's so fun about Dave is always willing to try things if people ask. And it's awesome. And that's what, Loomer and I love playing with you when we do that, because it's like being a human jukebox, right? And we did this gig at Craft House, and I don't even think we had a set list for most of the night. We might have had the first 3 songs, we followed a list, and then it was just people asking for songs. And we tried, I think we tried a Nickelback song that we had never done. There was like a Creed song that we faked our way through, and we're all smart enough and we played together long enough that we can make our way through, and those are the most fun. And I'd never forget, that gig was such a blast because it was just, every song was one of those like, let's just give it a whirl and see how it works. And most of the time, every now and then you'll hit one, you're like, oh, that was a C minus. But most of them were solid Bs and B pluses. I mean, it's nice. But
I do feel like with you and the drummer we're talking about, Mike Loomer, both of you are also like lead vocalists. You also sound, and then opens up a whole. We can do that more with you two than we can like at some of the other gigs I had, because then it's like, well, I know the guitar parts to a lot of stuff that I don't know the words and sing, and then it was the Sugar We're Going Down, Fall Out Boy or whatever. You sing that one, I think. So I've got it charted out, on my iPad or whatever.
Definitely. So doing the vocals definitely helps and opens up a lot more doors, right?
And you also have a higher vocal range. Mike's is higher than mine a little bit, and then you can get up even higher. I think.
Well, they stick me with all the female fronted songs because I sound like a 13-year-old girl. So I've been blessed with this voice. So, every time I go to the drive-thru, they're like, pull through, ma'am, it's good. And I'm like, no, not again. So, but yeah, it does work for the pop punk stuff. So I get saddled with all that. So.
Yeah.
And you said you're in a few bands yourself. Are you currently in a band?
Yeah, I am.
And you've toured before? You're not touring any?
No. I've retired from those days. So I'm in a doom band called the Osadax. We do, haven't played a ton since COVID, probably only like 1 or 2 shows in the past 2 years or so. Finishing up a new album now, doom band though, but it's a trio, so I do vocals and bass. I have a guitar player who does vocals as well, and then we have a drummer. And that's all, very heavy metal kind of stuff. I'm in a Primus tribute with Loomer and the guitar player from the Osadax as well. So that we started about 1.5 years ago, and that's been a blast. So I get to kind of relive my child fantasies of playing Les Claypool songs in my bedroom. So that's been real fun. And then I'm in a band called Retro Pop, and we're mostly 90s, 2000s covers. And that's probably the band I play with the most. We're most active. And then there's a couple other tributes from time to time. We probably do one Green Day show a year. There's a Red Hot Chili Peppers show that we do once a year probably. And then I was doing an Incubus band for a little bit, but some of the guys moved away, so we haven't done that one in a while. But tribute stuff's a blast. If it's a band that I'm into, I love doing that. And I do a lot of sub work too. So just gun for hire. If I know enough songs, people just call, and word gets around. David's like, yeah, he can handle it. Just give him the set list and he'll show up. So, and those are always fun too, because you never know what you're gonna get, right? So it's kind of a mystery bag. So
that's exciting, yeah. So let's see, what else did we want to talk about? So I did measure your current bass. Now, can you talk a little bit about the specs on that?
Sure. So this is a Beardley bass. I guess it's a custom shape. He does some of these, but it's basically I have 2 EMG. I think these are 35 or DZ, I think is what they are. I can't remember the actual specs, but they're EMG 35s. I've got a Kaler tremolo bridge, so I've got this whammy bar that I can bang around with. It's got a OBP3 preamp in it, which is an Aguilar. I always forget the wood top. It's not Zeracoat, it's something else, but the fretboard is Pale Moon Ebony, and it's got gold frets on it. but this is my main bass for the
Did you decide on Pale Moon?
I did. The guy actually had like two big boards of it. He wanted to do. I have two other basses with him. He wanted to do both fretboards with Pale Moon Ebony to do like a kind of sister basses. And I didn't want to do it. I wanted the other bass completely different. But the Pale Moon Ebony looks great. I mean,
Pale Moon Ebony, for those of you who don't know, beautiful wood, prone to cracking. If you don't take care of your Pale Moon Ebony, you'll be very sad.
Yep.
But the problem is, it's also one of the best looking ebonies.
It is. So you got to take the good with the bad, right? So, but no, these basses are incredible. It's not a short scale, so it's a 33. Les Claypool's main Carl Thompson was a 32. I didn't want to go that small, so I had it kind of split the difference. So I went 33. In hindsight, I probably could have gone 32, and I would have felt okay. But yeah, I mean, this bass is my go-to for pretty much all my practicing, anything I do at home, any of the Primus gigs, I always play this bass. This is the main 4-string that I use. So, but I love this guy. This has been my main bass for probably the last 4 or 5 years.
And that's your gigging bass. You take that everywhere. Right?
No, so this one, the other bands, I'll play in E flat for some of those. I don't like tuning this one down just because it's not good for the neck. And I use very little strings on this, so I tried to keep this just in standard. The other bands, I've got just a Husk P bass that I built off of eBay with an all parts neck, which is easy to just throw around in my car. How to do it?
We've got to talk about that. Your action on your basses is like insane. So for those out there, if you go on, if you go out there on the internet, they'll say the standard like height and setup for like a bass is generally 6/64 off the low E all the way down to 5/64 on the high E, or maybe 4/64. He's got it, and generally, first of all, that's like a good quality bass. That would be like, yes, this is what most people would agree is a standard. It's the same as an acoustic guitar, right? Your bass is set up for 4/64 on the low E, which is like, that would be like a standard Fender Strat. That's a good Strat.
Hell yeah.
Like, if you got a Strat that dialed in, you'd be like, that is a very good Strat. And then he's got like, it's like 4/64, it's maybe even slightly lower. I can't even get a guitar that low without buzzing. Now I played it and I was like, okay, I'm like, this guy's a really good, you can clearly hear he knows what he's doing. I'm like, I'm gonna pick this up and I'm gonna hear the most buzzy bass I've ever heard. That was my thought. I'm like, I'm not gonna say anything, I'm just gonna let him do his thing. And I play it and I'm like, there's nothing. This is a straight neck. There's no noise. I'm like, wow. I'm terrible at setting up guitars. If this guy could get. Now I will say, like, if you're really going hard, you're going to hear the slap on the frets and stuff, maybe on the low E. But like, I did not expect that. The higher strings, it's awesome. Like that's truly impressive.
I'd be lying if I said it didn't take a lot of TLC to get there. I have the guy that works on all my instruments. We have definitely shaved down frets from time to time. We have lowered saddles on here from time to time. Anything I can do just to get it as low as humanly possible, just because it feels better for me to play that way.
Sure.
I can play faster. I don't have to press as hard, which means my hands don't get tired. And I love the attack from just very low action. It just feels great.
It feels great. You're working so much less harder.
Absolutely.
To play the bass. I mean, it makes sense.
You go into a music shop and you pick up an instrument, and there's nothing worse than picking up an instrument. I was in Guitar Center the other day. I picked up a beautiful Warwick thumb bass. I love thumb basses. I've owned like 3 of them. And the action was just brutal. And it's just like, you look at these basses and you're like, this would sell in 2 days if you guys lowered this action and just made it so that some dude comes in here and picks this up and goes, I can't leave the store without this because it feels so good. And I actually had the guy working at the repair counter try to get the action lower. We got it down somewhat, but it still needed that extra TLC. It needed some shimming. It needed a couple things, and just it wasn't. I wasn't gonna buy it, so I didn't do it. But yeah, setup's huge.
It's absolutely massive. I know that when we work on your guitars or you bring your guitars in, you play at a very standard Gibson 5/64 off the low E, and then all the way down to 3/64 off the high E, and that is like, I mean, that's not easy to get on a Gibson. You're not going to get one out of Guitar Center, I'll put it that way. And like,
that's true.
You find yourself very particular. Like, you'll notice action if they're set up differently. I mean, when we built the guitar that we built for you and other things, do you find when you play, comparatively to guitar, like when you're playing in the guitar world, do you find that, like, if the action's not right or something's off, you just notice it? Or do you ever, like, because you played a lot of guitars here, have you ever felt that way where you notice that difference?
Definitely for me, yeah. I mean, just little things like if the neck is wider, or the action, or the strings are closer together, or whatever, any of that kind of stuff. It takes a while to adjust to. And then certain things that we talked about before, like for me, like a maple neck versus like a ebony or rosewood. Maple just feels like it slows me down or something. I mean, not that I'm like a super shredder or anything.
You
It
like
just
the
feels
rosewood better?
the lacquer or something just feels like it's like, I don't know, just. More rosewood. Yeah,
That's interesting. So I'm the opposite. I actually prefer the lighter boards, anything light. And I don't know if it's because I've been brainwashed to think that they're like snappier, and that was always like the mantra when I was in like high school and college. It was like maple, snappy, rosewood, warmer and darker.
I'm gonna give you a theory. Here's my working theory. Okay, rosewood is a softer and more like as you're rubbing your finger on it, it's softer and you can like gently glide over it. Whereas maple, because if it has like a lacquer finish, it's like rubbing your hand on a glass surface. Your hand sticks.
Okay.
So when you talk about snappy, if you hit that fret and you nail it in, your finger's gonna stick. So your finger locks into the string on that fretboard, assuming you're touching the fretboard. If you're feeling it, my guess is that you're catching that note harder than you would be than off a rosewood or an ebony fretboard.
Could be.
I think that's the idea. There's no way to prove this.
No, and honestly, man, I've played basses with ebony boards that are black, and they sound snappy as hell. I mean, at all the EQ and the way and again, it goes back to what we said earlier. The setup is so paramount to this whole thing. It's it doesn't really matter what fretboard you got. Frank, a lot of the time it's just because it looks cooler. I mean, the Pale Moon Ebony we talked earlier, it just looks badass, right?
So
I mean,
good.
I have no idea if it sounds better than maple or rosewood or ebony or what. It just looks cool as hell. So we roll with it.
And you're bringing your basses in. I was like, I have no idea what's going to come out. You pulled out these basses. I'm like, well, that's beautiful.
I'm a huge fan of natural woods. Like I don't like gloss finishes. I don't like any sort of lack. They call them coffee table basses, and that is my go-to. Like anything, I'm a sucker for anything with like really crazy wood grain. I've owned. You can if you want to bust it out. I mean,
I don't know if we should give did you already say the guy's name? They'll give him a plug.
These are Beardley basses. He's right outside of Pittsburgh. I just had this one redone. This is my, it's a 6-string fretted. So it used to be a 34 scale. This is called Australian Mappa Burl. And I had the piece, we talked about making sure there was enough crazy coloring over here. So I got some of this blonde to come out. The piece was wild looking. It had blonde all over it. But just for these wings, we made it so that this blonde came out on the edges. This originally came to me as a 34 scale. I think I had 18 millimeter string spacing, so the strings were slightly smaller or slightly shorter, or slightly closer together. So 19 is standard. There was just the neck, I could just never gel with the neck. I could never get it as low as what we talked about, right? And I finally, this year, I told my guy, I was like, look, man, let's just redo this thing. I was actually having trouble playing a couple Primus songs with this because Les's Carl Thompson that he has, the neck is much thinner, which means he could fret things a lot easier and the strings don't ring out as much. So I sent this back, he chopped the wings off and we redid it, and now it is a 36 scale, so it's 2 inches longer than it was, but the string spacing is actually 14 millimeters. So it's not like, I don't know how close guitar strings are, but
They're 10.8 and 10.5 is your
10.8. Okay, so they're not all the way there, but it's basically halfway in between a guitar and a standard bass.
Right, we're talking like 2 to 3, millimeters? I mean, I don't even know.
Well, no, because if the standard is 19, it's 5 millimeters in for each one of them, and it's
19,
so it's a 6-string. So it's great for playing chords. It's great for going really quick. I've had to definitely adjust kind of the way I play on this, but honestly, it's great for practicing because it forces me to keep my hands extremely tight. And then when I switch back to the 4-string, or I have other 6-string basses as well, when I switch back to those, it's like, it's kind of like a football player, running with weights on, and then you take the weights off and you feel like you're running so much faster. So it's pretty cool, but it sounds incredible. This one's got the same kind of pickups. It's got the EMG, I can't believe I don't remember the names of them, but they're basically EMGs. They're the 45s, which are the bigger versions of the 35s. And this one has the same preamp in it, so it's got an OBP3 by Aguilar. And the bridge on this, I think I think this is Caller as well, but I think this is the smallest string spacing stock bridge you can buy. And I think this is what Les has got on his basses as well. But no, this thing came out incredible. I'm still getting used to it, but it feels awesome, and I'll be using this at my next Prime Moose gig for sure. Songs like Professor Nut Butter sound so much better on this now without my strings ringing out all over the place, because the other neck was like this thick, and just you have 6 strings with a neck that thick, just things just ring everywhere. So, but these are badass, so I love these things.
Awesome. Okay, I think now that I want to kind of like wrap it up. We got to get to those tones, guys. We got to let you hear what they sound like. Man. I know everyone's chomping at the bit, so I'm going to give you a few rapid fire questions. You just like word association, whatever you want to think and say. Jaco Pastorius or Paul McCartney?
Say it again?
Jaco or Paul McCartney? What's his last name? Pastorius?
Jaco Pastorius, yeah.
Which one?
Oh,
you have to pick one.
Man. I mean, that's hard.
I know, it's unfair.
I mean, sadly, I'm going to say Paul McCartney, but not on skill level. We're just talking musicians here, but Paul McCartney, yeah.
Okay, Paul McCartney, John Paul Jones.
Paul McCartney.
Flea or Paul McCartney?
I mean, that's Flea for me, but that's not right. I mean, it's Flea
like
for me.
fair, right?
Again, this is like childhood and stuff. Flea for sure, but that's not. No, I mean.
Okay, and then I'm gonna give you easy one. Les Claypool or Flea?
So honestly, it's crazy, but it's Flea, and I grapple with that all the time because I love Claypool's playing. To me, is just so creative, and I don't think anybody plays like Claypool. No one has ever done. I mean, Claypool's obviously very heavily influenced by Geddy Lee. You can hear it in his tone. You can hear it in the way he plays. He was obviously very influenced by Stanley Clarke and a lot of the 70s slap guys. Flea is very much like, Louis Johnson from the Brothers Johnson, that very hard, like just, that punk funk slapping kind of sound. But honestly, man, I was a Chili Peppers fanboy for like I could literally sit here and probably play every single Chili Peppers song from True Men Don't Kill Coyotes all the way until the end of Californication. And I might miss a couple parts here or there, but we could literally do that for like 3 hours and you'd be like, what the hell was that? Like, I mean, I know those parts inside and out.
I was watching a video on Flea just the other day, and they were saying that Flea's, first of all, incredible bassist, but
100%.
being able to play like him and just the repetition of going through like a 4-minute song so fast is just exhausting. I mean, that guy is like, he's like speed running and trying to get to the end of the finish line of carpal tunnel syndrome.
Yep.
He's trying to ruin his hand.
And he plays the old school way, like, the versus the, so there's the double thumping and then there's the old school, and he just does the old school, and man, to do that with the stamina like that, he used to super glue his thumb closed back in the day because he'd have these giant like holes and calluses that he'd have to fill in when he was touring because he was just pounding the hell out of his bass, and like he was probably using bigger strings, and I mean that shit hurts. I mean you pound your hands, so I mean, but yeah, it's an endurance fest on some of his songs for sure. But I mean that's what I grew up with, man. I come home from school, don't do any of my homework, and it was literally I would pick an album to play from front to back, and it would just be like Russian roulette with that had a 6 CD changer, and they had 6 records, and it was today it's Blood Sugar Sex Magic, so we're gonna start with Power of Equality and we're gonna end with They're Red Hot, or it was it's Uplift Mofo Party Plan and we're gonna start with Fight Like a Brave and we're gonna end with Organic Anti-Beatbox Band. Like, I mean, that's what it was every day. And like before I came over here, I warmed up and I played Subterranean Homesick Blues. I played Fight Like a Brave. I played, what's that other one? Super Secret Song Inside. And then I ended with Get Up and Jump because they're all like stamina parts, right? So the old Chili Pepper stuff for practice, old Metallica songs. If I want to get like ready for any sort of like long gig, it's first, Battery, Master of Puppets, Sanitarium, Disposable Heroes. When you play those, you're 20 minutes in, your hand's feeling good. Like you're warmed up. You're cranking. Like, I mean, and that's what it is. And I still do that to this day. I've been doing it since high school.
Still
So.
practicing. Still, well, keep
Oh.
it fresh. I mean, you probably play all those songs, but you know
Of course.
front to back.
Oh yeah, but I mean that's look. I love playing those songs, right? I mean, any of those artists that I mentioned earlier. The only band that's hard to like play along with that I don't do a lot of playing along with is Soundgarden, who's one of my favorite bands of all time. Ben Shepherd, huge influence. The first guy I ever saw play chords on a bass.
Oh, really?
And I know there's other guys, obviously, that were doing that, but he was the first one. When I had those, those old like tab books that you would get. I'll never forget seeing like multiple notes, and I was like, what the hell is that? Like, how's he doing that? And he was the first guy I ever saw do some really wacky tuning. Like he'd have some like I think his bass was tuned like CG sometimes. He was doing a lot of drop D stuff on Bad Motorfinger. Just really intricate tunings and a lot of weird time signatures too. Like one of my favorite, most underrated albums is Down on the Upside, which was their last record before they broke up the first time. And there is some truly cool stuff on that record, especially the back half of it. Like Soundgarden's albums, the back half were always more interesting to me than the front half, right? And I don't know why it was, but all the radio hits were on the front side, but you'd get to that back half and it was all like the really bizarre, like, super unknown, like you got like 4th of July and Limo Wreck and Fresh Tendrils and Like Suicide. Like those songs are unbelievable. I mean, but yeah, so still doing the same routines from high school. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? Every now and then I'll add something new, but the routine from high school works. Tried and true. Keep it going. So.
Segue from that, it makes you think of, well, like how much would you say you practiced then versus how much you practice now? Like how often do you think?
Back in the day, it was at least like 1 to 2 hours a day minimum. I would play most nights. It would just be, like I said, I would come home, take a nap, eat dinner, and then it would be bass for two hours, whatever it was. Nowadays, I usually play every day. I try to at least, but nowadays I try to work on more like technique kind of stuff. Like I'll hear some of these internet bass players that are like just incredible. Like there's a guy named Charles Bethune who's just unbelievable. The guy's just a monster. And he'll do some things and I'll see one of his little YouTube clips and I'll be like, man, how does he do that? And YouTube's great because now you can slow things down and kind of watch what people's hands are doing. A lot of like Victor Wooten stuff that I'm still trying to learn. And it's not, a lot of it is not that I can't do the techniques, it's the sheer speed of it, right? So I have the dexterity to do what they're doing with their thumbs and their fingers, but the problem for me is that I don't have enough time to practice so I can get up to that speed level. And those guys just play that stuff the precision that those guys play with at that speed is just what makes it so unbelievable. But no, I try to play, I usually try to play like an hour each day. Harder when I'm doing Christmas lights, but not when I'm not doing Christmas lights. It's usually an hour. Usually an hour every day. I mean, I have a 9-to-5 job. The kids go to bed, and I'm home, and it's Primus time, or it's Chili Peppers time, or Metallica time, or sometimes I'll venture out into Pantera time. Those are fun times. So just depends. So it depends. Yep.
Now, I'm trying. Did you study music in school as well? I can't remember. Or if
Yeah, so I went to Shenandoah Conservatory.
Okay, that's what I was gonna. I thought that. Okay,
So
I couldn't remember, but I was like,
I took lessons in high school. I had a teacher. The guy was brilliant. I love the guy. His name was Bill Flexenhauer. I think he still teaches. He was a brilliant guitar player, but just a great bass player. He's the first guy. It's funny you mentioned this bass. He was the first guy I ever saw. He had a Steinberger, the headless bass.
Oh yeah.
And it was wild. Even in like the 90s, I was like, what is this thing, right? And it sounded unbelievable. His action was even lower than mine. Like I remember playing his, and I was like, "How is this even like right?" And that's where I learned that from, because I was like, "I need my action like this guy," and like he had it set up perfectly. But no, so I did music lessons in high school and played in bands. But yeah, I went to music school, Shenandoah Conservatory. The irony is, I'm not a jazz guy at all. That's kind of what we studied in school. And jazz for me, it's not that I dislike it; it just doesn't speak to me like other music does. I respect the hell out of it. It's unbelievable. The players are phenomenal. The craftsmanship, the chord. I mean, it's so, you can study that stuff for days and weeks, and it's just, you'll still never get all the way through. It's unbelievable. But from a playing standpoint, I'm a metal guy, and it's hard to do that in college when you're like, I know that we're learning like big steps, but like, what do you think about Becoming by Pantera? Like, can we do that? And they're like, not really. So, I know there's other schools. I've heard that, I've heard that, so
maybe a metal.
Berkeley's got like a metal program. There was actually like, I saw like one of their, they call them like juries, where like they'll have like the students go and like play. Some of these kids did, a Necrophagus song last week for their jury, like 4 of them. And Necrophagus is this crazy like European shred metal band. But they 4 of them did that. I think one of the, I saw the upright bass group at Shenandoah actually played Orion by Metallica like 4 or 5 years ago for their jury. They weren't doing that when I was there. I wish they had. I probably would have stuck with upright bass a little more. But no, yeah, music school is great. I mean, the theory is the same behind everything, so learning that was huge. That was a huge part of my musical upbringing.
So you did that, you have a degree from that and IT, right? You did your, or how did
No. My background is all just music. So
you did, okay. So
I majored in, it's called arts management. So it was basically like half through the business school, but a lot of it was, how to manage a theater, how to manage a group, how to do, the business behind music. And then I ended up just using kind of that skill set to get my job that I have now, which has nothing to do with music. But and my coworkers like to make fun of me whenever things get bad. They're like, well, maybe if you hadn't majored in tuba, we would be not in this situation. I was like, oh. So... But yeah.
Well, we really appreciate you being here.
Absolutely.
I think we're going to wrap it up. We're going to get to the tones, so we're going to isolate those, play those separately, and then you guys can get a demo of this Hils guitar that I've got. So I have this Hils short scale headless bass, stainless steel frets, 30 inches, and we're going to just get those tones, and we'll give those to you, and you guys will see us in a little bit. All right. Thanks for joining.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Dave and Will's Guitar. We're here still with Mike Horn. So he just played all his basses. You guys just heard all the tones. So Mike, go ahead and go over your thoughts over your basses compared to this one, things you like, things you look for, just general ideas about what you look for in a bass and how that kind of stands in that bass. Would you pick that one? Would you go to a different one? Just generalized thoughts.
Sure. So the two that I played earlier, the Beardleys, obviously the actions are much lower. They're both active pickups, so they're going to be a little brighter, a little snappier in the high end. Obviously, I think the big thing with this one is that it's a 30 scale length, so the frets are very small, which I'm not used to. You know, so that is something that I probably wouldn't pick just for my gigs or anything like that, just because I'm not usually into the super small scale length. When you get really high up here, the frets become very small. It's like playing on a guitar kind of. It's just a little unorthodox for me. But that being said, I think it sounded really good. I know it's only got the one pickup, so it's got kind of that bridge kind of tone to it. But, you know, I thought the slapping sounded pretty solid on it. You could definitely gig with it. It wouldn't be a problem. You know, it probably would cut through pretty much just with the way it's set up here.
Right.
I would probably lower the action just a pinch if possible.
Sure.
But other than that, you know, it's definitely cool.
Yeah,
definitely
yeah.
works. So you know, it's a bass and I can play it. So
Right. So imagine you're gonna, like, let's say you're at a guitar store, you're talking to some student, he picks that up. Do you think this is a good like student grade, intermediate level, or maybe?
Yeah, it's definitely one of those cool kind of like, you know, it's obviously got the no head on it, and it's kind of short scale, and the body's obviously very, you know, interesting looking. So this would definitely be one of those, you know, kind of one of those, hey, that looks really cool. I think I want to play it in my band and look, because again, this is like a conversation starter, right? People are going to come up and go, what is that? Why is there no headstock? Why is it shaped like a bizarre star?
Right.
You know, what would I do with this differently? I would probably swap the pickup on it. I don't even know what this pickup is. You know, there's probably something that would potentially sound better on there. And then, like I said, this would be a candidate for obviously lowering the action. The neck's actually not so bad. I don't think it would need to be shaved down or anything like that. The bridge is a little weird. I don't really know what this is.
So yeah, the Alchemist makes that specifically.
Alchemist?
The
Okay.
Alchemist, yeah, and they make those bridges for that style of guitar. Obviously, the headless, you got those little, like, the pegs come out in a weird angle.
Right.
It's like what is that, like a banjo style tuner, right? So it comes out the back. They're actually kind of hard to deal with when you're tuning them, but other than that, I had problems setting that up. So this bass did not come in the condition it's even in now, right? So when I got it, the action was even higher. I lowered it as low as I could go. And the one thing I will say is that the saddles had to be sanded down, so I couldn't even lower it to an appropriate height. The little hex, or what is it, the Allen key that like pulls down the peg, or I'm sorry, pulls down the saddle, it was like locked in place. It wouldn't even lower, even though there was room to go. So I had to remove I've contacted the manufacturer, and they've told me since then that they've corrected that. So they were like, oh, you know, we saw this, we've gone back to the Alchemist, which really kind of infuriates me. I'm like, could you send me a new bridge? I'd put it on there. Like, he's like, don't worry, we'll correct it for the next guy.
For the next guy.
Oh, that's great. I'm glad. And
that helps me.
Right. Now, granted, this bass is $600. You know, we're not like out an arm and a leg. I mean, it's not free. It's certainly not cheap in the grand scale of everything. But I mean, as far as a playable bass, what do you think? Is it playable?
Oh, 100% playable. I mean, you heard me. I mean, you can,
Right. Yeah.
You can definitely play on it.
Right.
But like I said, it's more the short scale for me. And like, you know, the short, when I think short scale basses, I think the old, you know, the Gibson, the old EBOs and EB3s. There's a couple Fenders. I think there's like a Mustang bass that's short scale too. And again, they just always feel kind of strange to my hands. Again, like I mentioned with the Beardley, like I didn't want to go to a 32 because I was a little nervous just about going down that low. So that's why I stuck with the 33. But you know, it's definitely playable. I could gig with this right now. I mean, if David wants me on a gig, we can go use this.
You're ready to go. Exactly. More important in your terms, just for a general sense for yourself in relation to a bass. More important, playability or tone? What's going to bother you more if one's out?
Playability for sure. Yeah, I mean, tone is all fixable for the most part, right? I mean, you can swap pickups, you can change the angle of your hand, you can change how hard you're playing, you can change the strings. I mean, there's so many. If you have a bass that's playable, the tone part is fixable.
Yeah, the tone part's fixable.
When you have a tone that is like potentially really good, but if it does not feel good, it's really. I mean, look, if you had to get through a session or something, yeah, sure, but you're definitely not going to be having fun.
No.
I mean, it's hard to play on something that doesn't feel right.
Right, exactly. So have you ever bought a bass that played really well and you knew you were going to change the pickups immediately? Like you picked it up, you're like, I love everything about this, but I got to change these pickups.
Yeah, I had this bass. It was a company called as a Cliff Boardwell. The bass felt phenomenal. Like it was a Singlecut 6-string, similar to this. It only had one pickup, and I wanted to swap the pickup on it. I ended up not. I didn't want to like route into it or do any sort of mod, so I ended up selling it. It felt phenomenal. It was a 6-string, but it didn't feel like a 6-string. It felt like very compact. I even reached out to Cliff, the guy who built it, and the bass had actually, it was kind of funny on Talk Bass, which is a forum that a lot of bass players are on. The bass had made its way around. Like a lot of us had owned it.
Oh, really?
And yeah, because it felt great, but again, you were just very limited. It was just a tone knob and one volume, and I couldn't get any other sounds out of it. And I love most basses I have. I think every bass I have has 2 pickups. I gotta have that blend. I gotta have that that option for the bridge or the neck or the blend of both. Or if I want to add a little bit here or there, you know, when you have one pickup, you're just stuck with that sound and you can't do anything else unless you're messing around with EQ pedals. And at that point, you're
Yeah. Have you ever run into this opposite situation? You pick up a bass, you love the tone, and you're like, I'm gonna make this playable. Like it must be playable.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know if I've ever bought a bass like that because I couldn't bring myself to pay money for something that didn't feel right, like right out the gate. I don't think I've ever had that happen. Because a lot of the time, if it's not playable, usually you can't even get the right tone out of it, right? I think of like famous pickups, like wall basses have like these famous pickups that they're proprietary. Nobody knows what's in them. Like everybody wants them. And they sound phenomenal. It's what Justin Chancellor from Tool uses. And they just have that sound, and you hear them, and you're like, it's what Flea used to record Blood Sugar Sex Magic.
Oh wow! Okay.
They're phenomenal sounding basses. I couldn't imagine picking one of those up and having it feel terrible and be like,
right, you're just stuck with it.
It's like a $10,000 bass, and you're like stuck. You're like, how do I make this thing playable? The pickup I know sounds really good, or both pickups sound really good, but I just don't know how this works. But no, usually I have to have it playing very well for me to want to purchase or anything like that.
Yeah.
So
let's, if we were just to arbitrarily create a tier system.
Sure.
3 tiers, like beginner bass, a price point for like a beginner bass that's quality enough to learn. An intermediate bass, how much you're going to spend for like, okay, it may not like make it to a recording session, but like I could gig with this, I may want to record it, may not, that price point. And then you're like, okay, this is like, for you yourself, where are you looking at for like, this is as much as I want to spend and this is what I'm expecting at the top end?
So beginner, and I mean, people spend ungodly amounts of money on the first time. I had a kid that I knew when I was growing up who his first bass was a 6-string neck through Warwick thumb bass, which cost $3,000. And that was in like the 90s. I was like, what are we doing? So I would say between like $500 and $700, $500 and $800 for like a quality, and I'm talking new prices. You can get cheaper if you go used, and I usually buy used as well. But you can get into that $500 to $800 range for something that's good enough that you're not going to get frustrated, because that's the biggest problem with beginner basses, and I went through this too. If it's not playable and it doesn't feel right, you're discouraged, you don't want to play it. You should want to go home and pick that instrument up and be like, I cannot wait to get home and pick that bass up or that guitar up and play it. And it's hard to do that on super cheap instruments. So yeah, $500 to $800 is where I would say for like a good quality starting bass to get someone interested. That next tier up is that $900 to $1,1700 range. That's where it's like, I'm playing in a band now. I'm playing with other people. I've got tonal options. It looks cool. It's got cooler wood on it. Maybe even in the used market, like maybe I got a used, American jazz bass or American P bass. I know that it's made like better quality parts, and I know that it's got some, been through some better QC. Once you get past that like $1,800, $2,000 threshold, now you're getting into like the professional, handmade or handcrafted kind of stuff. And you can go nuts from there, right?
Right,
I mean,
right.
And we kind of talked about this earlier. I mean, like you can spend $2,000 to $2,500 on a very nice, like for example, like if you're at like Guitar Center, like they sell a lot of Spectres in that range, right?
Okay.
Spectres are gorgeous basses, right? The American ones can go all the way up to $5,000 to $6,000.
Yeah.
Even the Czech Republic ones, which I actually think are better than the American-made ones, at least from,
interesting. Okay.
in my opinion, every Czech Republic bass I pick up from Spectre has always felt better than the American-made
wow.
ones. I know that they're not the same specs and they're supposed to be like lesser, but diminishing returns.
Right. Right.
The Czech basses are incredible from Spectre.
Awesome.
But so you can get in that range, but once you go past that, now you're talking custom type stuff.
Right.
And
boutique stuff.
At that point, you're going to want to pick your own woods. You're going to want to pick your own pickups. You want your own bridges. You want all that kind of stuff. And yeah, you can get carried away, but there are a lot of builders that stay in that $3,000 to $5,000 price point. And again, that's a lot of money. But you're also paying for someone's time and craftsmanship.
Sure, yeah.
You're also paying for that customer service. That's another big thing too, right? You buy a cheaper instrument, something goes wrong, you need something fixed, you need new parts.
Right.
You're
Just
gonna
like
get,
this guitar.
Right, you're gonna get stuck on hold, you're gonna get stuck with, you have a builder that makes your bass for you. That guy is most likely, he's got your number. If you have a problem, you're gonna call his cell phone, you're gonna email him, and he's going to fix it.
Yeah.
He's going to make it right.
Exactly.
He'll know what to do.
Yeah.
And that's part of that price point.
Now for you, are you going to like, because you can get definitely like some of the bigger name brands, factory brands, right? You can get a $2,000-$3,000 bass from those brands,
Correct.
right? Would you say it's better just to go find your own builder, look for someone who you
100%.
can trust? Yeah.
Not even close.
Yeah.
When I see, like I said, when I go to Guitar Center and I see a Spectre for $5,500, that's just sitting there and I'm like, I could go call a luthier that knows what he's doing, that is going to make this by hand, that's going to have that customer service.
Right.
And again, like, and you're gonna get everything you want out of it, right? It's not going to be just something off the shelf.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. There are, more with guitars I see than basses, right? I think the Spectres get up to that range. Some of the custom shop Fenders, that's something I'll just say I can't stand all the relic stuff.
Yeah.
Faking that it looks old and paying thousands of dollars to make it look like it was dragged through a parking lot. I just don't get.
Yeah.
I love beat up old basses, but they've got to be real. Like nothing is better than opening up like the case of a 1971 P bass and it's been sitting in someone's like smoke-filled closet. There's just mojo for days. I love that when it's white like this and it turns yellow because it's just been
faded
in a club for 30. I love that, right? Those you pick those up and you feel like you're like in a time warp. You're like, this has been places, it's seen things.
Right.
But people pay crazy money for that stuff, and that's not for me, right? And look, people can buy whatever they want, but that's not for me. So that's what I've noticed. It's usually the Fender stuff that gets up into that range with the custom shop. It's usually Spectre that's up there. But honestly, for basses, at that point, you're into the custom world.
Right. You might as well just find something you really want rather than something that you're buying that someone told you should want.
That's
right.
right.
Yeah,
that's
that
right.
makes sense. So, well, hey, I really appreciate you being here. Thank you for all your demos. Music was fantastic.
Absolutely.
If you guys hear this and don't think it's fantastic, I don't know how you can disagree with me. I don't know unless we have like Flea himself come here. I don't think we're gonna get anything better than that. So
don't get carried away. Don't get carried away.
I'm trying to hype you up, man. No, it's I really appreciate you being here, and thanks for everyone who's watching. Mike, any final thoughts? Anything you want to plug? Anything local that you want to talk about that maybe you're doing?
No, I just like I mentioned earlier, I got my 3 main bands, the Osadaks. We're on Facebook and Instagram. You can find us there. Primus is my Primus tribute. You can find us Instagram and Facebook. And Retropop, my 90s, 2000s cover band. Probably the most active band of those 3. But same thing, Facebook and Instagram. So you can catch me playing all this kind of nonsense with all 3 of those groups. So yeah.
Awesome. Guys, if you get a chance, you live in Virginia, DC, Maryland, come see this guy when he's out playing. He gigs. He has his bands like he said. And again, thanks for being here. And thank you.
Appreciate having me. Thank you.
Thanks.